Well, when farmland is purchased, depreciation can be claimed on certain assets associated with that land. And in certain parts of the Midwest, above average soil fertility is also eligible for expense deductions. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law joins us now to walk us through the process. Roger, as always, thanks for your time here today. So what are some of the basics of the deduction that we need to be aware of here?
Well, good to be with you, Janet. Indeed, the tax code does allow a taxpayer that is engaged in the trade or business of farming to deduct the cost of fertilizer and lime and potash or other materials which enrich or neutralize or condition the land that's used in farming. Typically, that's going to be amortized over 3 years, 3 to 4 years, but most commonly 3, I'd say. If the fertilization costs are not expensed, then what you have to do is capitalize those into your land basis.
So how can a taxpayer, that is, establish the presence and extent of the residual fertilizer supply and that it's actually being exhausted?
Well, they're going to have to hire an agronomist to take soil samples and do some testing and provide a report to determine the extent, if any, of any excess soil fertility, and then provide an expert opinion from that agronomist as to the length of its usefulness.
So what type of documentation do they actually need to keep and hold on to?
Well, I think probably the best way to document the deduction is to provide for the allocation of value of the amount of above average soil fertility, and it is above average soil fertility, in the purchase contract when you buy the farmland. In addition, then I think also a written summary of how that computation was made would be really good to have in hand, and then the time period over which it would deplete due to crop production. Get all of that from the agronomist or other expert that's involved. I think that's the best way to do it.
Now, can this deduction also apply to land that is grazed, or is it only crop ground?
Well, that's a really good question, and I know there are certain companies out there that are pushing the deduction with respect to rangeland and pasture land and cattle grazing land, and in theory, I agree. Yes, it can. But I don't think you can count on the deduction being very much, if any, because with pasture and rangeland, the value of such things as potassium and phosphorus that's contained in the soil is a lot less than the value of those same minerals in the soil that's used to raise crops. And so the value per unit is simply not the same. And you wouldn't really apply fertilizer, especially at the current high prices, to enhance the land's value. You're not going to get enough of a bump up. It's not going to be worth it from the economic standpoint. So the economics just aren't there. So in theory, yes, you can, but in reality, probably not.
All right. Any big takeaway that you have for us, Roger?
Well, the deduction, particularly with respect to cropland, can be a big one. Maybe 10 to 20% of the per acre value of that land can be allocated to excess fertility if it's there. But you have to make sure you follow the IRS guidelines to be able to claim that deduction, and they do have some set rules that are out there.
All right, Roger, as always, thanks for your insight. Roger McEowen, he's with the Washburn School of Law, connecting with us today out of Kansas. Of course, go online to washburnlaw.edu/WALTR for more information. Roger, again, thank you for your time.